and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. South Korea is in recovery mode after torrential rain swept across the country last week, leaving at least 18 dead. President Lee Jin-sook called for special disaster zones to be designated quickly. People in South Korea are now able to sign up for government stimulus vouchers. Who can sign up and how much can they receive? We answer the questions. Japan's upper house election results are rolling in. Prime Minister Shigeru Ichiba and the ruling coalition look to have lost the majority. Over a dozen people have been killed and 9 others are missing following heavy rain and landslides across the country. President Lee Jae-myung has called on the government to find ways to swiftly designate areas hit hard as special disaster zones. Our Lee Seung-jae starts us off.
18 people have been killed and 9 others are missing after heavy rain across South Korea beginning last week and subsequent flooding and landslides. The latest figures were announced by the Ministry of the Interior and Safety and the National Fire Agency on Monday, with the southern county of Sancheong seeing the largest number of victims with 10 dead and 4 missing. Firefighting officials say rescue operations are still underway there. Torrential downpours have slammed the country since Wednesday, with Sancheong receiving an accumulated 793.5 millimeters of rain as of 5 p.m. Sunday. The other deaths occurred in Osan and Gapyeong in Gyeonggi-do Province, Seosan and Dangjin, Chungcheongnam-do Province, and the southwestern city of Gwangju. Since last week, authorities have reported 1,999 cases of flooded roads, soil loss, and destroyed public facilities, with 2,238 other cases of damage to private property. Over 14,000 people have been taken to shelters across 15 major cities and provinces, while 62 flights were canceled. In response to the nationwide damage, President Lee Jae-myung on Sunday instructed the government to find ways to swiftly designate the areas that were hit hardest as special disaster zones. Areas designated as special disaster zones are entitled to government support for damage recovery and victim relief. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
From today, people in South Korea started applying for their livelihood recovery consumption coupons. The coupons are being provided to all Korean citizens and some 350,000 non-Korean residents. They can generally only be spent at local businesses and are aimed at reviving consumer spending and boosting the sluggish domestic economy. For more about the application procedures and amount provided, our Park Junan has the details.
From 9 a.m. Monday, people can apply to receive the Livelihood Recovery Consumption Coupon, the first major economic stimulus under the Lee Jae-myung administration. The Ministry of the Interior and Safety announced that the applications will be open for approximately 8 weeks, from 9 a.m. today until 6 p.m. on September 12th, through both online and offline channels. The coupon program provides 150,000 Korean won, roughly $108 per recipient, with higher amounts for certain groups. 300,000 won will be given to low-income households and single-parent families, and 400,000 won for recipients of the basic livelihood subsidy. Residents from areas outside of Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi-do Province will receive an additional 30,000 won, while those living in one of the 84 designated rural areas at risk of depopulation will get an extra 50,000 won. People will receive coupons the day after application, and the coupons are valid until November 30th. The ministry says no coupons will be issued after the September 12th deadline, and those who don't apply will not receive any benefits. To prevent system overload and congestion, the first week from Monday through Friday will follow a day-of-the-week system based on the last digit of the applicant's birth year, 1 or 6 on Monday, 2 or 7 on Tuesday, 3 or 8 on Wednesday, 4 or 9 on Thursday, and 5 or 0 on Friday. Weekend applications are only available through online registration. Applicants can choose to receive coupons as credit debit cards, prepaid cards, or a community-based gift certificate, which can only be used at registered merchants in the applicant's municipality. Coupons can only be used at small businesses with annual sales of 3 billion won or less. They are not valid at large marts, corporate supermarkets, department stores, duty-free shops, online malls, delivery apps, entertainment, gambling, or cash equivalent businesses. Foreign residents who fall under certain categories can also receive the coupons. The eligible groups are permanent residents, marriage migrants, recognized refugees, those who are listed on a resident registration document that includes at least one Korean citizen, and those who were formerly on a Korean family registry document. To be eligible, they must be enrolled in the national health insurance system either as a subscriber, dependent, or recipient. The government says the livelihood coupon should stimulate consumption and boost the local economy. Another smaller coupon will be distributed later this year. Park Junan, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung has withdrawn his nomination of Lee Jin-sook, the former president of Chungnam National University, as South Korea's education minister. Senior Secretary for Political Affairs Woo Sang-ho told reporters on Sunday that the decision was made after carefully listening to various opinions, including those shared during President Lee's meeting with the floor leader of the ruling Democratic Party and the main opposition People Power Party on Saturday. The nomination had come under fire after allegations of plagiarism in her academic work and controversy over sending her daughter abroad alone to study while still a middle school student, which is illegal under Korean law. Woo added that the government will search for a new candidate to lead the education ministry. Japan's ruling party coalition is certain to fail to maintain its majority in the upper house election held on Sunday. That's according to NHK on Monday, which said that the Liberal Democratic Party and its coalition partner Komeito are predicted to win 46 to 49 seats in the election, falling short of the 50 seats needed to maintain a majority. The Asahi Shimbun also reported that the ruling party coalition is certain to fail to maintain a majority. NHK also projected that the main opposition party, the Liberal Constitutional Democratic Party, would win 21 seats. Now, with those results in for Japan's upper house election, let's discuss what this means for Japan going forward, as well as for Seoul-Tokyo relations. For more on this, we have Professor Im Eun-jung of Kongju National University with us this morning. Professor, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the basics about the election. What were the central issues that drove voters' behavior in this election? How did the candidates frame their positions on those concerns leading up to the election day?
Let me highlight 3 points, probably. Number 1 point is we need to just call back our memories, all this so-called corruption issues of LDP. All this money issue, money scandal, party ticket issue, it erupted end of the 2023. It actually contributed to the end of former Prime Minister, again, the Kishida's administration was ended up with this very, controversial issues, again, which is related to the so-called corruption issue of the LDP, the ruling party. But it was never actually solved clearly from Japanese people's point of view. And Prime Minister Ichiba Shigeru, the current, again, the sitting Prime Minister, he also did have some, even though it was a relatively speaking minor issue compared to the earlier those scandal, especially of the Abe faction. However, still, again, the LDP couldn't just clear up all this, again, the money corruption related issues, which really, I think, caused a big anger, a backlash from the Japanese people. So that's number 1 point. And number 2 is absolutely economy. Japan, of course, is not the only one who is suffering and struggling with the inflation. Even, of course, South Korea or any part of the world is basically fighting with the this inflation issue, which of course was COVID-19 pandemic was not the only cause. However, the pandemic was a big cause, and many countries are fighting with the inflation. So as long as again the inflation is really hitting, damaging the every ordinary people's lives, again the ruling party needed to again suggest more again tangible, constructive solution for that. However, I think the ruling party they couldn't make it, and on the other hand, other those a relatively minor party. They suggested, for example, reducing tax issues, or expanding the welfare issue. So economy, I think, was another like a very big point for the Japanese voter. Number 3 point, very quickly, again, the so-called anti-globalism, which is, I think, deeply related to economic concerns. This again, hit many countries in the world, and Japan was not the exception. That is why I think, for example, especially the Sanseto, which was a minor party, but this time they really showed a big jump. So Sanseto, like a pretty right wing party, they just stimulated those kind of again the concerns among the public, again the anti-globalism, anti-elitism, as it can be more like related to the xenophobia as well. So those 3 points I wanted to highlight.
Right, Professor. So you've touched on a number of aspects, but with that in mind, what does the outcome now of this election suggest about the direction now that Japan is heading, both politically and economically, in the coming months?
Well, we'll see, because the sitting prime minister, again, the Ichiba Shigeru, he said that he and his party does have a responsibility for the nation, and he wants to just complete. Is that responsibility, political responsibility, that indicates that again, he doesn't want to again to come down from the prime minister position. However, as long as again the LDP and / Komeito, the former those ruling coalition lost the majority, both houses, lower and upper. And if so, they need to have another like a kind of realignment. Of course, those opposition sides are pretty much fragmented. There is no really single one party who can comprehend every opposition party. So that is why we need to take a look into, how sustainable the Prime Minister Ishiba's position can be within the coming months. However, certainly, I want to really highlight this. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Sanseto, like minority party, they just showed a big victory that indicates that, again, as I mentioned, again, the many Japanese probably voters are very much unsatisfied with the way how the former ruling coalition, again LDP / Komeito, has been doing regarding any issue, political corruption issue, or like inflation, like economic issues, or even national identity / the foreign and defense policy as well. So Sanseto like party, they argue that Japan needs to rethink the rules and norms and value and order they have been adhered to ever since the defeat of the World War II, Pacific War. Again, this year is the very important year for anyone, probably 2025 for Korea as well. It's the 80th anniversary of our liberation, which means it's the 80th anniversary for them, again, the defeat of the Pacific War. So they probably trying to, I think Japanese society is now really trying to rethink about the future of the Japan and the conventional wisdom they have been sticking to for the last 8 decades, I think.
Right, and speaking of rethinking after 80 years, now I want to narrow it down to Korea-Japan relationship. How might this election result influence the bilateral relationship, especially
Sure.
as the two leaders were making efforts to strengthen bilateral cooperation?
Sure. Overall, more consequently speaking, I remain pretty much optimistic about the bilateral relation or even trilateral cooperation among U.S., Korea, and Japan. The reason why I'm saying so is, again, look at the word. The two wars or more wars are going on. Again, the situations in Europe is not good, and situations in Middle East is even worse. So having had these two, again, the conflicts in the two regions, again, it's really difficult to deal with all this, defense issue. And additionally, we have now way development in the military technology. For example, cyber issues or like drone attacks. So we do see many of those unconventional threats we have never seen before. So we need to deal with this non-conventional, new emerging threat as well. And of course, challenges from China, technologically, economically, and even politically, is not simple at all. So having had all this, conflicts and threats and challenges surrounding us, I think, again, the bilateral relationship will remain pretty much, again, the cooperative. However, at the same time, we need to be probably careful with the more like volatile issue, which related to the national identity of each country or their interpretation about their history. So again, the August 15 is a big day. I mean, for both countries. Again, I think we need to be careful about the coming, again, the months.
Right, Professor. Thank you so much for your insights. I'm afraid that's all the time we have, and we hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you.
Now in K-pop news, a fresh new boy band, truly one of a kind, with all of its members coming from outside of South Korea, including North Korea. Our Park Gun-woo has Universe's story.
Alone, they're just individuals with different verses, but together, they create a story, a song, and a universe. That's how you could describe this brand new 5-piece K-pop group, Universe, which has 2 members who are North Korean defectors. It's extremely rare to see North Korean-born idol stars debut on the K-pop scene, which makes you wonder how they first got into K-pop.
I came across FX's La Cha Ta music video when I was young and heard K-pop songs through USBs passed around secretly.
Coming to South Korea at a young age was already a dangerous journey, but their struggle didn't end there.
My beloved family were still in the north, and while coming here allowed me to finally dream, I still felt like the loneliest of the lonely. The biggest battle was with myself, a fight I kept losing. But just having our members by my side filled that emptiness and gave me strength.
Even language was a hurdle, especially for rap.
I naturally speak in a North Korean dialect, but when I rap, I train myself to turn it off. As for English, I started with the ABCs and kept practicing until it finally started to feel natural.
Other members, Asian Americans Kenny and Nathan, and Japanese Aito, also faced their own challenges.
Hardest part about training was the cultural barrier, right? So there's a lot of getting used to that, and also sentence structure. So I had to learn how to shape my mind into a Korean person.
Well, I've never been away from family for the past 23 years of my life. There's a lot of adjustment to do. However, with the guys now and the staff and everyone, they're like my second families.
Despite their different backgrounds, they found common ground in pursuing their dreams through music.
With diversity being a factor in our group, we learned that, hey, everyone's story is important. Everyone matters, and everyone deserves to be heard and deserves to be respected, despite wherever they come from.
They hope to be of comfort to others, and that very hope is what's guiding them toward their own dreams.
I had a time when I didn't even look up at the sky. Those hard times live in my lyrics now. To anyone watching us, even from the north, I want to say, dream.
5 different dreams in one universe. Universe is showing that K-pop no longer solely belongs to South Korea, but to those with dreams and passion, regardless of where they're from. 박건우, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Choi Ji-hee, and this is The World Now. Starting in Vietnam, a tourist boat capsized in Halong Bay on Saturday, leading to at least 38 deaths. The Wonder Sea, carrying 53 people, mostly Vietnamese families from Hanoi, capsized around 2 p.m. local time after encountering sudden fierce winds, heavy rain, and lightning. 10 people were rescued, including a 14-year-old boy who was pulled out from the hull 4 hours after the capsize. 5 people are still missing, and search and rescue efforts are still underway. The storm came on so quickly that passengers had little time to react, even though life vests were available. In the United States, 30 people were injured, 7 critically, when a vehicle drove into a crowd outside a music venue in East Hollywood, Los Angeles, in the early hours of Saturday. The driver, identified as 29-year-old Fernando Ramirez, was reportedly kicked out of the nightclub minutes before he drove his car into the crowd. Surveillance footage shows him mounting the sidewalk around 2 a.m., first hitting a taco stand, then a valet podium, and finally the waiting crowd. Ramirez was dragged from the wrecked vehicle, assaulted, and shot before being hospitalized. Authorities found no evidence indicating that the incident was linked to terrorism or driven by any criminal intentions beyond the driver's intoxicated state. Police are also searching for the man who shot Ramirez and fled the scene. On Sunday, a 7.4 magnitude earthquake struck 144 kilometers east of Russia's Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky city. The tremors triggered tsunami alerts, which were later lifted. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center and U.S. National Tsunami Center issued coastal warnings for Kamchatka, Hawaii, Guam, and America Samoa. Roughly 2 hours later, all alerts were officially downgraded and lifted. There have been no reports of casualties or structural damage, and seismic activity has subsided. Authorities warned that the Kamchatka Peninsula remains a high-risk seismic zone.
We saw an incredible amount of rain nationwide last week, but with the rain wrapping up yesterday, it's all about getting prepared for the heat this week. Heat wave advisories are in place across some parts of the country, and we can expect these advisories to expand even further. With plenty of moisture in the air, strong, sudden heavy rain could fall at any time. Specifically today, expect heavy rain of 30 to 50 millimeters per hour to the southern parts of Korea. And by the afternoon, Seoul is expected to reach 31 degrees Celsius, Daejeon at 32, Gwangju topping out at 34 degrees. But feels like temperatures will be higher with that high humidity. We are looking at tropical nights as the heat builds up, and the daytime highs will soar to as high as 34 degrees Celsius here in the capital by Thursday, with a frequent chance of passing rain. So please stay hydrated and take care.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.